episode 100 of the Sort of Sports podcast. It's been almost 4 years since I started doing this. I think the first one came out, I believe it was October 6th. I always get like one text, whether it's my girlfriend or my good buddy Dalton, whenever it's the anniversary of the first episode. And somebody's like, hey, it's the anniversary of your first episode. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. I always forget. It's October 14th, 2020. I just looked it up. That was when the first episode ever dropped. And so this is episode 100. Spotify, I think, has about a little less than half of the episodes. If you go to YouTube, there's all 100 episodes there, along with a mini episode. One time I did a mini episode. It was just about the college football playoff and what I thought should go on that year. And it's been really fun. I obviously really enjoy doing this, and I guess I should state this isn't the Tarantino ranking episode. I kind of teased that the Tarantino ranking would be episode 100, and I don't want to force myself to watch Kill Bill 1 and 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Hateful Eight. Like, I want to be like ready to do it in the mindset, and I'm not. Like, I'm just not. I think about it and I'm like, I'm just not ready for it. And I think it's because I know I only have 5 more Tarantino movies. I have those 4, and then his newest flick, whatever that becomes, because now it's not the movie critic, so I have to wait longer. So I think a part of me is just like, I know that it's going to end. And I do believe he's going to retract on that. He's either going to write books or he's going to write TV. I don't think he's going to be fully done writing. I don't think he can do that. But it is, I think that's kind of why I'm holding back on the Tarantino ranking. Maybe I'm just going to wait until the last one comes out. Then I'll rank them all one time. Boom. But I think it'd be fun if I did one now and then I see if things change over time. Because already, when I first watched Jackie Brown, it was my least favorite Tarantino movie. Now it's maybe third. Yeah, it might be third. I think I love Jackie Brown now. It used to be the top 3 were Pulp Fiction and Glorious Bastards and Django. That's not the order. That's just the top 3. And then now Glorious Bastards out. And it's Jackie Brown. I don't know why I'm talking about Tarantino, even though I said this wasn't going to be the Tarantino ranking pod. Well, let's get into what this episode is actually going to be. I thought it would be fun. I feel like you have to do something monumental. My buddy Blake was telling me, Ryan, it's episode 100. You got to do something big. So this is going to be a little unfocused, I will admit. But I'm going to title it something like If I Was the Emperor of the Universe. And I'm basically just going to go through and I'm going to talk about things in sports and like film and TV that I'm seeing and what I would do about it and what I think is going to happen. I think use this as almost like sort of a time capsule of my thoughts in this moment, both my predictions on what's going to happen and what I would do. Because I have a lot of thoughts about these types of things, and I think I creep into every episode, but I think I'm just going to dedicate a full episode to this. Really what brought me this idea was one of my favorite episodes I've done recently was episode 98, when I created my own hypothetical movie studio, and I discussed what actors I would use, what type of films I would pursue, and all that. And I really, really enjoyed doing that, and I feel like this is a fun way to commemorate the 100th, is to kind of take a checkup on all the different topics that have just been running through my mind, because I haven't made a podcast a little over a month. So I have a lot of thoughts. And then obviously August is kind of my last month of slow movement in the podcast, because then starting up the end of this month, we'll be back into weekly episodes for the NFL. So I'm kind of going to use this as just, I've got a lot of thoughts about the Olympics, the NFL, the NBA, and then I've got some movie thoughts I also want to talk about. So I just kind of dedicating the 100th episode to just little peek inside the mind, Ryan Clinger here. Yeah, I guess that's one way to word it. Okay. Tarantino ranking probably eventually. I think I've been thinking it over as I'm talking. Maybe who knows? I mean, in the next 2 weeks, I could watch all his movies, and episode 101 is that. I don't know. I just haven't been in the mindset of it. Really, the next thing I think I'm going to watch is probably... I still haven't watched X-Men 97. I'm like a massive X-Men fan, my favorite superhero team. So I really need to get on that. But then Batman the Caped Crusader just came out on Amazon Prime, the animated Batman show. So I'm going to watch one of those two. It would be very on brand for me to watch X-Men 97 after it's like 3 months old and not watch Caped Crusader, even though it's brand new. That would be very, very on brand. So maybe I'll do that. But yeah, let's get into all my different thoughts. As far as movies go, probably going to go see Twisters tonight. Very excited because, guys know Glenn Powell's my guy. Got to see everything he's in. I found this absolutely awful-looking movie with him in it. It was a film he made with Bill Paxton. It honestly looks like straight to DVD. It's called Red Wing. He's the lead. Let me read you guys the plot summary. A young couple takes in a mysterious foster child to raise on their farm. As the boy grows up to be a handsome young man, the husband starts to suspect his wife has feelings for him. Oh my goodness. This streams on Peacock and Freevee for those of you that are interested. Oh, and it's included with Prime Video. And it's on Tubi. So if you have... Freevee and Tubi are both free. So you better go watch Red Wing, the 2013 hour and 48-minute drama/romance classic with a young Glenn Powell, with his surrogate father being Bill Paxton. Goodness, I might have to watch it just to add it to the list of movies. So watch Glenn Powell. I gotta watch Devotion still. Have not, the one he made of Jonathan Majors before we obviously knew everything about Jonathan Majors. One of their fighter pilots, and then I gotta watch Everybody Wants Some, and then there's this Netflix rom-com he's in called Set It Up. He's like an office intern or something like that. I'm gonna watch that one too. So I got a list of films of Glenn I gotta watch. So Everybody Wants Some, Devotion, Set It Up, and now Red Wing, because I've already seen Hidden Figures. That was the first time I ever saw Glenn Powell, and I was like, oh, that guy's good. I like him. And then he popped up in Top Gun, and I was like, oh, yay, this guy again. And then here we are 2.5 years later, and he's massive movie star. Not even 2.5, like less than 2.5, like almost just 2 years later. So that's happy for Glenn. All right, let's start out with the sports. Big thing with me, so I live in like a small rural town, and I probably have three, I don't even know if it's three, adults that talk about the NBA. Now, NFL, on the other hand, massive. Everybody spends Sunday watching the NFL. Baseball, everybody has like a concept of the Guardians pretty much around here. Some people follow the Reds, but most of the part, everybody got, like, most people, I'd say it's like a 70-30 Guards-Reds break where I'm at. And really the big thing is maybe it's an urban thing. Maybe the NBA is bigger in urban areas. I could see that. But I do think the numbers do not lie. The NBA viewership continues to go down. And I was very happy with the playoffs this year. I will say I don't think we had a lot of great games or moments this playoffs, but I feel like the personalities emerging in the NBA between I obviously love Jokic. I think Giannis is great. Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic. I think we have a lot of really good talent and marketable talent in the NBA. And I don't understand why it's not more popular. And maybe it's the LeBron thing. Like, it just feels like culture was paying more attention to the NBA when it was Steph Curry and the Warriors versus LeBron, even though we were all like, wow, this isn't competitive. Well, not the first 2 years. Once KD joined, right? They're like, wow, this isn't competitive. This isn't that interesting. Yet people were talking about it more. It was more of a talking point. Now, granted, maybe part of that is me living in Ohio. I've always lived here, so maybe my concept is warped. But you do look at the numbers and the viewership, it is going down. It's just the facts. So what does the NBA need to do? And I'm going to be honest, I know always the thought process is less games, but I do think there is something to that, is the less games. Because let's think about this for a minute. What's the big three? The NFL, NBA, and MLB in America, right? How does the MLB do it? Well, the MLB has 162 games, an insane amount. The way you watch the MLB is you pretty much view every team through the prism of your own team. You're always keeping up because there's so many games. You're basically almost always going to be watching your own team. So if you're a big Guardians fan, you're watching every Guardians game. And when the Yankees come to town, you're like, oh, that's that Aaron Judge guy they talk about. Wow, he is really good. You're not going to go out of your way to watch a Yankees game if you're a Guards fan. You're just not. Also, a lot of Guardians fans I know hate the Yankees, so then there's that. But it's got a very casual viewing to it. It's like, oh, did the Guards win today? You check your phone, or you tune in for a little bit, or you catch the end of it on TV. It's very casual. It's like, hey, did you see the Guards last night? No, I missed it. What happened? And they talk about it. That's the way baseball is. Let's flip over to the NFL. The NFL has kind of nailed what they're doing because they basically turned themselves into a reality TV show. So I think you guys know that I'm a big fan of The Bachelor. I don't like The Bachelorette as much, but partially is I just don't really like the Jen girl that much. I'd be a lot more interested if Maria was the Bachelorette or Daisy, but they didn't do that. Maybe they declined. Who knows? But I just don't really like Jen that much. Anyways, I think it's obviously clear I'm a big Bachelor fan. I honestly think the NFL, my skit I made on my other channel, just the Ryan Clinger channel, where I did the NFL Bachelorette, I honestly think it's a money idea because the NFL already markets itself as like a weekly reality TV show. You have certain characters, right, that you follow, mostly like quarterbacks really would be like your main characters, right? It's the way they market it. And you follow their trials and tribulations. You follow, oh, what's going on with Josh Allen? And because it's weekly, there's only one event per week you have to keep up with. So if Josh Allen gets hurt Sunday night, then you're checking in, throughout the week where it's, oh, we're not sure yet. Then maybe by Thursday, it thinks like he's going to be cleared for Sunday. And then you see him run out of the tunnel Sunday and you're like, oh, okay, Josh Allen's in. Because there's only one game a week for every player, it makes it like a TV show where you're tuning in for every episode to see what your characters are up to. And the thing that makes it so different from the MLB is let's take two casual fans, right? One from each. Take a casual MLB fan and take a casual NFL fan. Neither of them would consider themselves diehards. They both watch let's say they both are like, oh, if I miss my favorite team's game, oh well, but I try to keep up. That type of fan, right? Let's take one of each. Go to the MLB fan and say, name me 15 of the 30 teams. Name a pitcher for each one. I'd be like, I can't do that. Like one pitcher from each team. Well, one pitcher from 15 teams. I can't do that. All right, well, can you name the leadoff hitter? Or just, let's say leadoff hitter. Let's just name the leadoff hitter for 15 teams. They're like, no, I can't do that. Me personally, Ryan, I cannot do that, right? You take that person and say, okay, can you name the starting quarterback on 16 NFL teams? They probably can. And I know the argument would be, well, the NFL is more popular, the NFL is bigger, but I think that's important because my dad isn't like a heavy, like I guess he's kind of become a heavy NFL watcher recently. We do spend every Sunday watching, so I don't think he's the perfect example. Let me find a better example because my dad I don't think would qualify as a casual fan anymore because every Sunday he spends his day watching NFL. But I think there's a lot more of those people than there are MLB people because I think an MLB person, like the MLB equivalent of my father, would be somebody who watches 2 out of 3 games of their team, and if they're not watching a game, they check their phone to see what happened. That's like the MLB equivalent to my dad, because the way my dad works is every Sunday he watches the Steelers. If the Steelers have a Monday night or Thursday night game, he blocks out that time to watch the Steelers. Now, after he watches the Steelers, he might go do something for a little bit, but he almost always watches Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. He watches all the night games, Sunday, Monday, Thursday night, and then he watches the Steelers. Those are the 4 games he watches. Now, if he's really got nothing to do on Sunday, he doesn't have any work to get done, then he might catch a 4 o'clock game, see what teams he's like. We have Sunday tickets, so he'll be like, okay, I'm going to catch the Chargers. I'm interested in that Justin Herbert guy. Now, the big thing at the MLB. The big thing with the NFL that helped them out, that makes it even more this way, where people know the players like their characters in TV show, is fantasy football. Because now, people, your mom, who's never in her life cared about the Las Vegas Raiders, now has their running back. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I got to pay attention to the Raiders now because I have their running back. Now, my mom now cares about Jordan Love on the Packers because that's her quarterback. So she might tune in to the Packers Monday Night Football game, even though my mom doesn't make a day out of watching Monday Night Football, but she will because, I have him in fantasy. Let's see how he does. The NFL has nailed that. They market it like a weekly TV show, and fantasy football just adds to that because now you know the individuals. And that's what's interesting is the NBA, a lot of guys are like, we don't have a lot of team fans anymore. A lot of people are just player fans. And that's very true. The MLB is still the most old school, this is my team out of the big three. I'd say the NFL second, and the NBA, there's not a lot of fans like that anymore. There just isn't. I know a lot of sports fans. The most diehard, this is my team, is baseball and football. Now, I will say football and baseball are pretty close. But there's not a lot of guys who watch a lot of MLB and are just like, I just watch whoever's on. That person isn't very common. Whereas I do know some people that are just like, I just really watch whatever NFL team. I mean, I'm a Bengals fan, but I'll watch this and this and that. And there's not a lot of that in baseball. I like baseball, and I don't even do that. I'm not just like, I'm gonna watch Red Sox Orioles tonight. I'm not. I'm just not gonna do that. Whereas if it was randomly, Ravens are a bad example because I love Lamar Jackson, but if it was randomly Jacksonville and Indianapolis, two teams I really couldn't care less about, I'd be like, let's see what Anthony Richardson's doing, right? And part of this is the way the game is played. With the NFL, if you got, you like this one quarterback, you think he's cool, like Anthony Richardson, for example, you're going to watch him play about half the game. Whereas in the MLB, if you're a big Shohei guy, you get to watch him about 3 times in the game if he's not pitching. If he's just hitting, it's just you get 3 times to watch him. So about once an hour, you're going to see him do something. So I think that's part of it. But I do think it's very important because the NBA does not market themselves like the NFL. The NBA is in a really bad spot where they have too many games to feel like a weekly TV show, like the NFL does, where every game feels like it matters and you're following these storylines. It's almost like pro wrestling. It's kind of like pro wrestling. I'm a big WWE guy. It is like pro wrestling in very many ways. The NFL is, where you follow the storylines, and every week, the games serve as like Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, where you see, the matches of the games play out, and you further the storylines. It's a system that works. That's what you do. Network television the same way. So is streaming television. This is why I don't like when shows drop all at once. I like it when it's a weekly episode because it's just the perfect way to consume stories. I guess the argument would be, Ryan, have you ever sat down and blasted through a book? Yes, I did. 1984, George Orwell. It was excellent. I read it in spring break in 2 days. I spent 4 hours one night just reading it. But right now I'm reading The Stand. I've been reading it for 2 months. I pick it up, sometimes I read 50 pages in 2 days. Sometimes I read 50 pages in 3 weeks. It just depends. It is damn good, though. I was just reading it yesterday. It's excellent. But overall, the best way to consume stuff is that weekly system. It's a great way to do things. And the NBA is missing that. So how does the NBA make itself more like the NFL? Because they're not going to become the MLB. That would be the worst thing. You're not going to add more games. That's just stupid. You're not going to add more games and now be like, okay, well, now we're casual viewing. Because basketball is not built like that. It's not built to be the casual, how'd they do today, like baseball is. It's just not. It's not the culture. You can't shift that. But how does the NBA become more like the NFL where it feels like an event? I think one argument would be that, you can shorten up the games. Shorten it down, say 62 instead of 82, right? And then you make Christmas Day the startup. That's when most people pay attention anyway. And then April is when the playoffs start. Because the big thing with the not the MLB, goodness. The big thing with the NBA is I think the playoffs are too late in the year. I do. I think the NBA would benefit because the NBA has always been the little boys league. That sounds terrible. Okay, not like that. What I mean with that is I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were basically saying when we were younger, NBA was our favorite pro sport out of the big three. It was our favorite league. As we got older, it became NFL. And I said, that's the rite of passage. Once you get older, you're either an MLB or an NFL guy. NBA cannot be your favorite. You can like the NBA, but it cannot be your favorite. It just feels childish. And my dad said the same thing. He's like, there's not a lot of... Now, granted, don't get me wrong. I follow a lot of YouTubers and a lot of Twitter guys that are grown men NBA guys. And I completely understand. That's not me. That's not me dissing on my guy Dom 2K because I love Dom 2K. But I'm saying it feels to me at least, in the circles I've been around, it just feels like something you're into more when you're younger. Because I just don't know any adults that are into it. The only adults I know that are into it are on the internet. It's not like in real life. I don't see them. So maybe this is just a me experience. If maybe you're listening to this and you're like, Ryan, you're off your rocker. Like, I go to B-Dubs on a Sunday night, and I live in North Carolina. I go to B-Dubs on a Sunday night. People are rocking for the Hornets. It's like, okay, my bad. They're like, screw your Panthers. They don't get anybody excited. It's like, that's fair. I'm actually recording this pod in my Bryce Young t-shirt jersey, my shirt ski. So that's fair if you're like, actually, Ryan, you're off your rocker. But at least in my experience, the NBA is just something you're into when you're younger. And as you get older, you can still follow it, but it better not be your favorite. No one's ever read that. Like, no one's ever out, and they're talking to a girl, and she's like, oh, what are you really into? And you're like, the National Basketball Association. That doesn't go on. You can be like, oh, I'm into the NFL. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then you start naming some quarterbacks, and she knows Joe Burrow. That's how that goes. With the NBA, no one's ever like, you ever heard of Alperen Sengun? And, the girl's like, oh, who's that? That shit does not happen. I get a little bit off time. Episode 100, everybody. We're really swinging for the fences out here. Goodness, I probably should have added some of this out. I basically just said that if you're a grown man that likes the NBA, you're not using it to pick up girls. That's what I said. I didn't mean for it to come out that way. It's just funny. Okay. All right. Now, granted, I'm a massive Bill Simmons fan. I think Bill Simmons' favorite is probably the NBA, if you asked him. And I love that. I love that there are grown men that follow the NBA. If there weren't, it would be deeply disappointing. I'm just saying I don't think it's as common as the NFL is. I just don't. And the numbers speak the same way. I feel like baseball seems to be the old guys, NFL is the dads, NBA is teenagers. That's the way it rolls. And I feel like in your 20s, you got to either shift into the NFL or MLB. You're either hanging out with the geezers or you're rolling with the dads. You got to stop hanging out with the teenagers and talking about the NBA. That just feels the way it goes. Now, there's obviously many outliers to this, but I'm saying in general, that's the way it always has felt to me. So how does the NBA get around this? Like I said, the 62 games would be great, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it because the records aspect. And they care a lot about the records and how many the point. No one will ever break 40,000 points. Like, no one's ever going to break LeBron's record ever if they now have 20 games less per season to do it. Because over 10 seasons, it's 200 games less than LeBron played. So they're not going to do that. Now, I will say, I do think having playoffs in April would greatly benefit them. If the finals were in May, like before Memorial Day, you get like a week before them, that would be awesome. Because what I'm also saying is that there's less of a gap between the games. The playoffs go on way too long, and you lose people's interest. You do. You can keep the 7-game structure, but we got to play more consistently. We can't have these random 3-day breaks in the finals. It kills the momentum. Absolutely kills the momentum. I do not like it. Now, I also think I just said that it always felt like NBA was biggest when I was in like high school and middle school. You know what? Those kids are in school. So I think what you're probably thinking is, well, it's good that they're in summer. No, it's not. Because when they're in school, they go to school and talk about the NBA. And that boosts your product. If the lunch table is talking about the NBA, the kid who doesn't watch is like, oh, I better tune in tonight. Oh, well, guess what? The game isn't 3 days away now, so he doesn't, forget about it. It's, hey, they're playing back-to-back nights, game 1 and game 2, because that would be cool. But, event television, guys, come on. Event viewing, that's what you want. The NFL is event viewing. The MLB is casual viewing. The NBA is a terrible mix in between. It's not event viewing, and it's not casual viewing. It's just there. I don't like that. I don't. I think it could be better. Now, for example, I remember what started this podcast. This is actually crazy. This has come full circle. I don't know. I'm getting really passionate about this. I did not realize I was this passionate about this. What started this podcast on October 13th, 2020, because I remember the anniversary now. 100 episodes ago. The first episode was me talking about the NBA Finals. And I wanted to give my thoughts about the 2020 NBA Finals and what it meant for LeBron winning his 4th ring. You know why I recorded that and why I put it out there? Because I was talking to my band teacher about it. And he was saying some stuff about LeBron that I thought was way too much. I was like, no way, he's not the GOAT off his 4th ring. And it made me, I was like, no way, this guy is serious. And I had so many thoughts that I was like, I got to record this and put this out to the world so all 5 people can hear it. And hopefully those 5 people are still around. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, why is Ryan flipping out like this? I didn't realize I was this passionate about this. But I'm saying, just talking at school and having it be in culture and like talking about it made it so much more interesting and more fun. I always think it's funny. Every Super Bowl, and I mean every Super Bowl, there's one quarterback that all the girls are like, oh, he's kind of cute. Because, you got the girls who already watch NFL, right? You got the women who watch NFL. Then you got the ones that never watch, and they only tune in for the Super Bowl. And they're always going to pick whichever one they think's more attractive. Who can blame them? And it's always fun to see when it was Rams-Bengals. I remember that's when the Joe Shiesty thing started up. It's when the Joe Cool started up. That's when Joe Burrow really went stratospheric popularity-wise. He is still riding high off the Joe Shiesty, Joe Cool stuff from 2.5 years ago. He is. And that happens because people are in school and they're talking about it. If the Super Bowl was in the summer, it wouldn't get anywhere near the play. It wouldn't. It just wouldn't. That's why baseball's built for the summer, because it's casual. You don't have to watch every game because no one is going to be like, oh, it's the summer. I got to lock in and watch this every night. There's only one thing that can do that, and it's the Olympics, because it's once every 4 years, so it feels monumental. That's why the Olympics is allowed to be in the summer. It's why. It's the only thing. It's allowed. Everybody else, get out. So basically, NBA, cut the games down, start in Christmas, end by mid-May. Your ratings would go up, and start marketing. Please, please, start marketing the teams more. I get you got to promote the players. I think they have a lot of great player personalities. But we almost lose, there's no sense. People are like, oh, there's no rivalries in the NBA anymore. Well, part of that's because they don't even try to tell a story like that. There's no storytelling right now in the NBA and the marketing. The NFL does nothing. Absolutely nothing but storytelling marketing. That's all they do. They do storytelling marketing so well that it makes people like me wonder if the NFL's rigged. That's why the joke is so big, because the storytelling marketing is so good that you're like, this is too good to be true. Everything lines up a little too well. Why is Jared Goff playing Matthew Stafford in the wild card? Are we sure this isn't rigged? Because they market it so well at building up the fact that it's Jared Goff's old team, and and Matthew Stafford used to be here, and are they going to boo him out of the tunnel? They're so good about that. The NFL is so good at that. The NBA has completely lost that. They have. What was the marketing for the Mavs Celtics? What was the story there? It's basically on the jobs of like podcasters and radio guys and ESPN analysts to make the story, not the NBA themselves, not the actual. I mean, I know Mike Breen's great. I guarantee he could do it. I guarantee Mike Breen could tell a story. I guarantee it. He could find something. That's what Bob Costas is always so good at, and that's why he's so beloved when it comes to his NBA broadcasting, is because he sold it on the storylines, and that's why I'm very excited for the NBA on NBC. Not just because of Round Ball Rock, but even though it's a banger. I mean, that's going to be great, having the theme song back. But I truly believe the NBC, no, it's Ohio State already does that. I can't have NBC be doing that dumb stuff too. NBC is going to market it with the stories. I guarantee it, because that's the way they do Sunday Night Football. Every Sunday Night Football has a tail to it. That's why it's really weird when it ends up being a weird matchup, because you're like, oh, I'm so used to this, them making it feel like it's an event, feel like it has a story. They're really good about that, and I guarantee the NBA on NBC is going to have that. They're going to bring that energy back to the NBA with the storylines. I think the ratings will go up, and I think people will be talking about it more, because at the end of the day, that's what we want from the sports. We want a good competition, but we love the story. We do. People love the story. It's true. All right. Well, that was a very intense talk on episode 100. I did not expect that from myself. Okay. Let's talk about the WNBA. So I listened to the new episode of the Bill Simmons podcast, and it was really good. He had Derek Thompson on, and they talked about the future of everything. They do this every 6 months, and they talk about something in culture, politics, sports, and I forget what the other one was. It film? Oh my gosh. Technology. It's technology, culture, sports, politics. Talk about the future of it. They each bring up one idea. And I believe it was Derek Thompson who was talking about the WNBA, about how they were grossly undersold when it came to their media rights deal, in which they got $20 million, just 35 times less than what the NBA got off their new billion. It's like I think it was $8 billion, maybe $8 billion deal. Yeah, that would be 35 times. So, yes, it was an $8 billion deal. I had to do math real quick. So, he was pointing out the average NBA. I mean, I would just recommend anybody goes listens to it. If you're listening to me on Spotify, just look up the Bill Simmons podcast. And, I know Bill Simmons doesn't need my plug, but I'm still going to give it to him. The NBA gets about 1.3 million viewers per game, average. I think he said the WNBA right now is getting 1.1 million, and the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark games get over 2 million. That is not 35 times less viewership. So basically, the WNBA has been undersold, and I do think there's a chance, there is a moment here where the WNBA could overpass the NBA in popularity. Now, how does that happen? It's played in the summer. That's the thing with the WNBA is I don't like the fact it's played in the summer. I don't. But I will say they only play like 40 games. They play like 43 games, I think. It feels a lot more like an event. And they're marketing the players quite well. Now, they can't market the teams that well because there's not too much history. There's like the league's been around for like 25 years. So, not the most history. But that will build. And contracts are going to go up, and I do believe the WNBA is going to be as popular, if not more popular, than the NBA. And I think it's going to be a really interesting moment to live in that time, and probably involve, Bill Simmons pointed out, it's probably going to involve a second league coming in and trying to steal the players away, and then the WNBA will have to pay more, and then, that's the way that works, kind of like the ABA, NBA. I mean, it just came out, Paige Beckers is going to be in another league I think it was with overtime. I'm not sure. She's going to do that and the WNBA. So, good for Paige Beckers. You guys know I'm a big Becker backer. Hopefully she wins the Natty next year. But yeah, I do think the WNBA is probably going to be... If the NBA doesn't get their shit together, the WNBA is probably going to overpass on popularity. I'm not playing around. which is good for them. I'm happy for them. And I really like what the WNBA has been doing. They've been trying to take advantage of this, and I think they're doing a really good job. Props to their marketing team. Let's talk about the Olympics, because I've been watching a lot of the Olympics, and I enjoy the Snoop Dogg segments. I think those are great. Whoever decided to do that, genius. I know a lot of the celebrities being there is probably to promote the fact it's going to be in LA in 4 years, but I still think that's great. Really been enjoying everything they've been doing. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes, though. That men's gymnastics team that won bronze, I tweeted out that we need like diners, drive-in, and dives with them because they were such a fun mix of personalities. You had the Frederick Flips guy. He seemed, fun, like a really fun, energetic personality, and he's big on social media. I did not know that. Then you got the guy who, went viral for sleeping before, the Pummel guy, and he was funny. He's a really quirky guy. Or call him Clark Kent with the glasses, and then he became Superman when he got on the pommel horse. Then you had the really stoic guy from Georgia, and he had a bit of a Georgia accent. And then the one guy who was like the hype man, and then the other dude who was just smiley, and I think he said that he is, used to be from, his parents moved here from Poland. So that was interesting. And then I think there's one more guy I'm forgetting. Or was that everybody? I think that was everybody. I think that was the team. But it was just such a fun mix of personalities. And I'm like, I really think the Olympics, when I was younger, they really heavily marketed Michael Phelps. He was the guy. He was in the Subway ads. He was everywhere. He was the Olympian. And then after 2016, and Simone Biles is like the best gymnast ever, they shifted. She is now the American Olympian that they market all the time. And she's, obviously incredible. She just won gold. She had the GOAT necklace. Really happy for Simone Biles. So, she was the shift. I think Frederick Flips and this men's gymnastics team should be the next shift for 28. Now, granted, a lot of things have to happen. They have to consistently be good. They have to qualify. They only won bronze. But if next Olympics come and they're looking really good, start marketing them. Make Frederick, I think his name, Frederick Richards. No, Richard. I think it was just Frederick Richard. Make him, that new American Olympian. Because Simone's obviously getting older. I don't know if she's going to be doing the next one. I assume she's obviously like the best. I think you can really shift to Frederick and the men's gymnastics team, and that can be. Now, granted, Katie Ledecky's obviously incredible, too. Katie Ledecky's like the greatest women's swimmer ever, and they market her, but the main person they market is Simone. So, you can continue to market Simone, but I think shifting to Frederick could be interesting, or at least bringing him up, making him the 2, right? Because I do think there's something there with him and the rest of that men's team, but he's the main part of it. He's already got the social media presence. He's got a fun personality. I think he could really be a big piece for the Olympics. And I really enjoyed the Olympics, how they're doing it. I really love, the prime time, and they just run through all the big events, and that's just a great way to intake it. It's like having Sunday Night Football every night. It's really fun. I really, really enjoy it. So the Olympics have been really fun this year. 21 felt weird, so this feels like to me the first Olympics in my adult life that feel normal, because the 21 ones were weird. It's just weird because no fan, you know what I mean? It was weird. And then 2016, I was younger, so I remember watching some events, but I wasn't tuning in every night for the shows, the primetime shows. I just wasn't, as scheduled. And in 2012, I remember watching Michael Phelps when I was younger, and so yeah. I really enjoy the Olympics. Kind of a big fan, not gonna lie. I can't wait for all the new events that I'm gonna watch next week, and yeah, I enjoy how the NBC has been doing it. I called them the NBC again. I enjoy how NBC has been doing it. I really do. And they do a good job. And it's kind of going to suck when it's... Now it's... Okay, it's not going to suck, but I will say, I think when it's in LA and it's on our time zone, It'll almost be a little less fun because you don't get the little wrap-up shows. Maybe they'll still do it, but it have to be at like midnight. You'd lose that like Sunday Night Football feel that we have right now, and I kind of love that. But I mean, it's still gonna be awesome. It's in America. Don't get me wrong. That's cool. Don't get me wrong. But I was just saying. Okay, I think that is everything I wanted to talk about in sports. Now we got to talk about some film and TV. Really, I got 3 things I want to touch on. What would you like to hear first? I got DC, Marvel, and I thought on a drama I had. Are you going to answer me? Oh, shoot, that's my bad. I forgot that this is only one way, and this is already pre-recorded. So that's my bad. That was gaslighting. So if you answered me, though, very kind of you. If you didn't, and you're like, wow, Ryan, this bit is unfunny, do not visit the YouTube channel that I link in the description. That's my skit channel, because I don't want you to think my other stuff isn't funny, too. So sorry about that. Whoops. Okay. I think I want to do the drama first, so I guess hopefully you answered that. Here we go. So we had The West Wing. I have never watched. I know Martin Sheen, Rob Lowe are in it. I think it was an HBO show. It's on Max. Maybe I'll watch it eventually. I think, how many seasons? You know what? I have Max right here. I'll just pull it up on my computer. Let's go, what? The West Wing. Here we go. Oh, looks like a fun little cast character. Yeah, there's Rob. Oh my gosh. Is that who I think it is in the back? No way. No way. He's in this? Dule Hill is in this? Dude, Psych legend. Dule Hill. I did not know he was in that. I love Psych. Okay. I didn't know he was in the West Wing. Cool. So, I think how many seasons are there? 7 seasons. Goodness, how many episodes per season? Oh, this is like old school TV. Oh, yeah. Like 20 episode seasons. There's 7 Hell yeah, we need this shit again. I love shows like this. The way they used to make shows. We need this back, baby. I need this back. This is epic. Oh my gosh. Maybe I should just start this at some point. Maybe I would enjoy it. What does it say you may also like? Oh my gosh, The Newsroom. I have not watched The Newsroom. I've just seen clips, and it's hilarious to me. They play like Coldplay during like big moments when it's like, I'm a newsman. I deliver the news. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Veep. Veep's on HBO, too. Huh. That is 7 seasons? I did not know Veep got 7 seasons. ER is on... Wait a minute. ER is on HBO. Sorry, guys. Now I'm basically just recording me scrolling through HBO now. This is not good. This is probably not good podcast right here. We'll admit. This is not... Probably not my finest work here in episode 100, but... Maybe that's what I'll do for the episode 200. It's just recording myself as I scroll through Netflix for 30 minutes, then decide it's already too late because I wasted too much time scrolling through it, so I decide not to watch anything. This is like a weekly occurrence. You know what? Screw it. We are putting The West Wing on the watch list. Who knows if I'll ever get to it, though, but looks fun. Anyways, so I'm going to have to sneeze. If you said bless you, thank you. Even though I warned you I wouldn't be able to hear you, you still did that out of the kindness of your heart, and I appreciate that. So we had The West Wing, and it was a drama about these politicians in the White House. I think Martin Sheen's president, whatever. Then we had House of Cards with like the last thing to have Kevin Spacey in it before we figured out that we shouldn't put him in things anymore. No, bad Kevin Spacey. So that show was like Netflix's first big hit. They dropped all the episodes at once. It was a big deal, right? Never watched either. Maybe I should. Why don't we have like a new political thriller, though? I honestly think we're missing out on some great television. Now, maybe there's one I haven't heard of that exists. If there is, someone please let me know. I don't usually ask for people to comment, but like I'm being serious. If there is a political thriller, drama, TV show, or movie that I'm missing, let me know. I think Civil War wouldn't, like, that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a Manchurian Candidate type film, right? Something like that. I mean, I'd take even Air Force One, even though Air Force One is awesome, and it's not really, I would say, a political thriller. It's more like an action movie that just happens to have the president as the main character, and it's just Die Hard with the president on a plane, and I love it. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll watch Air Force. Goodness. Might have to watch Air Force One soon. Yeah, but I don't know why we're not making those anymore. I think those are really interesting. And I got an idea for one. It kind of came from an idea Bill Simmons was talking about on his podcast when he was discussing politics, and he was talking about it being an open convention for the Democratic Party and what was going to go on there, et cetera, right? And he's like, what does, open convention really mean other than like, oh, season 7 of The West Wing, there's going to be an open convention. Things are going to get crazy. He's like, but what does that actually mean? That would be a great idea for like a political thriller movie or like season 1 of a show where it's like something happens where the president steps down. I don't think you want to start it with I forgot there was one more political. It was Designated Survivor, Kiefer Sutherland, when they tried to like make, that was like going to be his next thing after 24. Yeah, that didn't. I don't know if that ever really worked out. Did it? Let me look it up real quick. Did that show ever hit? Old Jack Bauer, you ever get rolling on Designated Survivor? Ran for 3 years. Okay. How many seasons we get out of this puppy? I'm going to guess 3. 3 years, 3 seasons? Yeah. Oh, okay. Netflix picked it up for the last season. It did not run on NBC that long. Huh. Wonder if it was any good. Why are the last season's episodes, every single one has a hashtag as the title? So it's hashtag the system is broken, episode 1. Hashtag, what does that say? Slippery slope? Hashtag privacy, please. Netflix, don't do that. I don't like that. That's gross. Don't do that again. This isn't Black Mirror. Come on. Okay, anyways. I think a really fun idea for either a TV show or a movie, it would be like, president steps down, you're following this character who previously was just like a smaller politician, but because now it's an open convention, he or she decides, this is my moment, I'm going for it. And maybe it's not presidency, right? Or maybe they lose, but there can be twists and turns between, all the shadiness that goes down in politics. I think it could be really cool. Really, the scene I'm picturing in my mind that I think would be really fun would be like a golf. I remember I really loved Goldfinger when I was younger. It was my favorite Bond film. As I got older, I think Thunderball's now my favorite, but when I was younger, it was Goldfinger. And one of the biggest reasons it was my favorite was because of the scene when he golfs with Goldfinger. I loved that scene. An Odd Job. An Odd Job chops the head off the statue with the hat. I loved that scene because I asked my mom, I'm like, why is he golfing with Goldfinger even though he knows he's a bad guy, even though he knows he's going to kill people? And she's like, because I was used to, like comic book heroes and Indiana Jones, where they see the bad guy and bam, they take him out. And she's like, well, that's the way it is. It's like a game of cat and mouse. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. The fact that they're both like, they want to be gentlemen. So they like kind of talk trash and make little jabs at each other while they play golf with each other. Just like that. And he's like, oh, good job, Odd Job. But he's obviously showing Bond that he can chop the head off the statue. And that's such a fun thing when that's done right. Like the villain and hero kind of toying with each other. It's like, oh, okay. And they're both, acting nice to each other. They're both acting like gentlemen. And they got to have that moment where they truly are enjoying each other's company. But then, the business comes. Die Hard has that for a little bit, I would say. that period where Hans is with him, but Hans is faking it, right? Hans is being someone else. So I think it doesn't get that. But I absolutely love when a movie or show does that. And I think it'd be really interesting, like a political thriller, where it's like they know they're political opponents, but they're going golfing together and they're talking about things and they make little jabs and remarks at each other. I'm like, that could be such a fun, that could just be a whole episode of like a political thriller TV show. So if there's any writers listening, hit me up, because I think this could be banger. I'm being serious. I think it'd be a really cool show or a really cool movie. Or maybe the reason they're not making it is because studios are like, American politics are pretty interesting the way it is. We don't need to dramatize it. So then there's that. But I think it could be really good. I think it could be a really fun show. So the thing is, I don't usually think of ideas that are pretty serious. Like usually almost all the ideas I've had for movies, TV shows have a bit of comedy flair with them. This one would not. It would have to be pretty self-serious. I do have to admit, like, not a ton of comedy in it. But I think you could draw some comedy. I'm thinking like a Succession vibe. That would be like the vibe I would go for. And usually stuff I think of is like a Better Call Saul vibe, where it's got a little bit of comedy to it. No. I guess Sopranos also has a little bit of comedy to it. Never watched much of it, but I've heard. But Breaking Bad's always got some comedy in it. Like, don't lie to yourself. It's got some jokes. Whereas Succession, at least when I watch it, the stuff I watched, pretty serious shit. Maybe I should watch The Bear. Maybe that'd really work for me, because I like when stuff's like kind of funny with it. I haven't recommended The Bear many times. I just never got around to it. I say as I added like the 120 episode West Wing to my list. Really shouldn't have done that. Okay, let's now shift into DC and Marvel, because I got thoughts. My big thing with DC is I just cannot wait for this. I cannot wait for the new film, Superman. I think it's just going to be incredible. I have the highest of expectations. I honestly think I've never been more excited for a movie. I think the only thing that'll be able to top this is if Tarantino's new movie looks incredible. That'll be the only thing that would top this, because I love Superman, my second favorite superhero. I just cannot wait. The last time I was this excited for a movie was probably the Batman. And then before that, it was Endgame. Before that was Infinity War. Before that was Spider-Man Homecoming. That was like the last time I those were probably the most anticipated movies of my life right there. I guess No Way Home I was pretty excited for. Throw that one in there too. So I guess like once every I guess there's like a movie a year for a period there that I was super amped for. And then since the Batman, 23 just had like a bit of time off. But and 24, I guess, too. Because, I was really excited for Doom Part 2, but not anywhere near the levels I'm excited for Superman. No. No. Superman is... I can't wait. When I was at Progressive Field, because I went to a Guardians game a week ago, when I was there, I could actually see the Lord Tech logo still on the field. So that was cool, because I was there like 2 or 3 days after they filmed it. So that was awesome. Genevieve was like, I know you're super pumped because you're where they filmed Superman. I'm like, yeah. The Guardians are fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. You guys know I was going to make a prediction about them, probably involving the World Series. And I'm not going to say that because I do not want to curse them, because the Clinger curse is very real, especially when it comes to baseball. Yeah, I'm going to... I bought a Superman t-shirt. Not like the new ones that have the David Corn Sweat logo, just like the classic blue with the Superman, like the thing that like Sheldon wears. Probably gonna look a little goofy on me. I guess you all know how I look now. I didn't think about that, because like now with the YouTube channel, my face is out there. I didn't used to show my face at all. Yeah, you guys can picture it. I feel like a Superman shirt looks a little weird on me, because I've been told I look slightly Amish. So that's why I got to keep the beard relatively trimmed so I don't look Amish. Too Amish. I get Amish sometimes, but most of the time it's like 80s rock band guy or like surfer dude or pothead, and I'm none of those three. So just to clarify. Wow, episode 100 really getting deep in my mind. I'm just no filter in this episode. This is wild. Okay. Creature Commandos got a trailer at Comic-Con, and it looked incredible. Not going to lie. I really like the animation style. I love Invincible. I am going to read the Invincible comics. I'm going to buy the compendiums as soon as the show ends. I don't want to get ahead of the show in the comics. I don't. I think the world of Invincible. I love the way it's written. I think Kirkman, it's such a cool idea to have, like, to write a superhero with a start and a finish. Because everybody, in comics, it's going to go on forever, right? Spider-Man's still going to be written in 2070. It might be slight changes, but for the most part, the status quo is going to be relatively similar. Invincible isn't like that. Invincible has a start and end to it. It builds this incredibly interesting world that ends, and I think that's so cool. It'd be like if the MCU after Endgame was just like, and we're done. Like, it does add a bit of magic to it, where it's like, wow, that was the story. I think it's really neat. It's really cool, and that's what's really fun about the Invincible story, is it feels like everything has a purpose because it all leads to a point. It's not just, we're going to introduce this, and we'll see where this takes us. No. Once you introduce something, it is there to stay. I mean, I love the characters. I love the world of Invincible. It's so fun. It's like simultaneously like a parody without feeling like a direct parody. I think that's why a lot of people compare it to The Boys, because The Boys is a parody, but it doesn't parody so hard that it feels like a joke, right? It doesn't feel like Spaceballs. It's still got its own thing to it. And I really like that. As much as I like The Boys, I think Invincible's better. And I think Invincible, the writing is what carries Invincible, because I'm going to admit, I'm not usually a dog on animation. I think Invincible is animated very well, but I've seen some X-Men 97 clips. It is significantly better animated. Not going to lie. Can we get that? That would be cool. I'm just saying. Come on, guys. Come on. And Creature Commandos. I'm going to pull up the trailer right now. I've only watched it once. I probably should watch it again as I'm talking about it. Because Creature Commandos looked more like X-Men 97 than it did Invincible. And, oh yeah, this is good. I'm just watching this right now. This looks awesome. It's, okay, so at first it kind of looks like Invincible, right? Just the smoothness of it, the world. But once the characters come in, and you're seeing them interact in like the world and the fighting, I think that's when it becomes a lot more dynamic. Like when you see the ghost-looking guy, I can't remember his name. It's like, I don't know what is exactly his name is. Goodness, what is his name? Are they gonna do a thing with like name him? I'm trying to remember in this trailer if they do that. Is his name like Silicon Man? Phosphorus Man, or Mr. Phosphorus, or Dr. Phosphorus, or something like that. I would say it's above Invincible, but it's below X-Men 97. X-Men 97 is probably like the best animated superhero show. Now, granted, I haven't watched the Cape Crusader yet. Maybe the Cape Crusader is going to be great too. I just enjoy what DC's doing with their animation. I'm very excited to watch Cape Crusader, and I cannot wait for Creature Commandos, because it feels like he basically is like, this is my new Suicide Squad. He's like, because if I'm James Gunn, I'm like, okay, the Suicide Squad's kind of been done now. It's, we had 2 movies. One of them's terrible. One of them's incredible. I made the incredible one. But now we got to reset the universe. We're not going to confuse the audience with another. I mean, the last Suicide Squad was basically a soft reboot of the first one. There's no, you don't want to do another reboot. It's just too much. So he's got to make Creature Commandos the new Suicide Squad. And I think it's a really fun idea. And I think it looks really good, and I'm kind of like, damn, we're going to get this in December? Like, I cannot wait for this. And to me, it really shows that it looks good when I've never read a Creature Commandos comic in my life, nor have I ever had interest. I've heard of it. I've seen it on the shelf when I go to Books A Million. and I buy comics. I've seen it at the comic store I go to on the shelf. I'm like, I don't really care. I know they're making a new show, but I don't really care. And then I saw a show, and I was like, I still don't care to read the comics, but damn, that show looks good. So, there you go. That's a good sign to me. The fact that, because that's what you want to appeal to, is the people that don't read the comics and are like, oh, well, this looks cool. That's really your big market you want to get. Because the people that read the comics are going to watch no matter what, as long as it's good. But if you can get the people that don't read the comics of Creature Commandos and they want to watch it, then you're really getting something. So, very excited for Creature Commandos. Think it's going to be really good. And, yeah, very excited. As far as the rest of the DCU, love the new logo. I think that is the best DC logo, the one from the 70s and 80s, the little angled DC. It's just got a fun vibe to it. And I love the way James Gunn seems to be building his world. And this is where this comes in, because you're like, okay, Ryan, this is really just you, just absolutely just, propping up the DCU, telling James Gunn he's great. When does the you part of it come in? What do you have to say? This whole episode's about what you would do. This is where I'm getting into it. It seems to me that James Gunn is interested in making the world of DCU have the vibe and feel of the late 80s, early, I would say, not even late, like mid 80s DC comics. I'm talking about, like, I'm pulling up the projects right now. Now, when I say that, like, okay, what do you mean? I'm saying the era of DC that has the new Teen Titans, like the best Teen Titans comics, some of my favorite. If you said to me, you're like, Ryan, I don't read much comic books, what should I read? Most people are going to be like, Batman Year One, The Dark Knight Rises, Watchmen. For what it's worth, I love Watchmen. Massive Watchmen fan. Still need to watch the HBO show. Do not read Watchmen as your first comic. Do not. Does not work. It works well because it's a commentary on comics and superheroes. It does not work as your first. You gotta have, come on. So, love Watchmen. Watchmen, I think, is incredible. If you said, what should I read? Honestly, if I'm looking at the comics I own, right? I got Nightfall. I got a lot of Spider-Man stuff. Not a lot of Spider-Man, like, storylines, though. It's all, like, early stuff. I really would enjoy if I got some, like, story Spider-Man stuff. But it's all, Spider-Man is, like, the most, for those of you that don't know, like, Spider-Man's the most expensive, like, to buy. Like, a thick book of Spider-Man comics is going to be, like, $40-$60, whereas a thick book of, like, Green Lantern comics is, like, $20-$30, because he's not Spider-Man. So, then there's that. Batman's the same way. Batman's more expensive. Superman's cheaper than Batman, usually. Anyways, McFarlane Spider-Man would be the way to roll. If you were just like, hey, I want to read some Spider-Man. Early McFarlane Spider-Man. Be good. Anyways, if you're like, what should I read? In my mind, I'm probably going to tell you to read either, because, like, as much as I love All-Star Superman, that's not really a, hey, I'm getting into comics, what should I read? It's not. It's just not. Being genuine, I'd probably tell you the new Teen Titans or X-Men, like the Uncanny X-Men around, like, Chris Claremont. That's what I would give you. Because, and they're very similar. I mean, the new Teen Titans was literally written as, like, a answer to the Uncanny X-Men Chris Claremont run. It was like DC's equivalent. And they were, like, neck and neck in sales throughout the 80s. But they're both absolute bangers. And that is what I would tell you to read. I'd be like, if you want to read DC, read New Teen Titans. If you want to read Marvel, read Chris Claremont Uncanny X-Men. Because they're awesome. And I think that's the DC James Gunn wants, is that, like, 80s DC with the New Teen Titans, with, like, Nightfall Batman, the era, like, not exact. I don't think he's going to do the Death of Superman. I don't want him to do the Death of Superman. Please don't do the Death of Superman run. But that era, that time, because that's early 90s, I'm thinking, like, a little bit earlier than that. Like, the Justice League International, the Justice League I think he's pulling from. It seems to be the movie between Guy Gardner. I'm not the first person to point this out. I know this. I think that's the era he's going through. And that is my favorite era of DC Comics. I'm not lying to you. Marvel, my favorite is the 90s. I love 90s Marvel. That's the best. That's like my favorite Marvel. Don't get me wrong. There's Marvel stuff in the 80s. There's 60s Marvel stuff I love. There's 70s Marvel stuff I love. I love Marvel Comics a lot. I love DC Comics a lot. I'm not just like, I'm just going to read 80s Batman. No. I'm not rolling like that. Do not get me wrong. What I'm saying is the overall universe, the overall vibe, that Crisis on Infinite Earths DC mid-80s is like the best, in my opinion. I love that era. Now, is there some modern stuff I like? Oh, yeah, I really like the new stuff they're doing with Superman having a family. That's really cool. I really need to watch Superman and Lois. I would probably really like it. Too busy watching Smallville. Love Smallville. But I think that's the era he's going for, and I am really into that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is Batman needs to have a blue and yellow suit. That's what I'm building up to. All right, I said it. I know. Maybe I should edit in like people going, boo. But maybe people want that, right? Batman needs... Okay, here's what we're going to do. If you're like, what do you mean blue and yellow suit? So, I don't know if you know this, but if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Spotify, just close out the app real quick. If you're driving, don't do this. Type in 80s Batman blue suit. Just type that in, right? Now go to images. Now you're going to see a different variations, but the one I want you to look at is the one that is a bright gray with the yellow Batman symbol and a blue mask. You see what I'm talking about? I need the yellow Batman symbol. There's a Reddit post right here that says, judging by Superman's suit in the DCU, I think we are more likely to end up with the blue suit. What do you guys think? That image came up for me. If you can see that, that's what I want. I want that. I want the blue suit. It's been going the rounds on the internet. That's what we need. It looks awesome. And we've never had a blue suit in film. And it would quickly differentiate for the audience that the Batman universe with Robert Pattinson and the Penguin show is a different universe than the DCU. Very quickly differentiate. And I really like that. I think it would be awesome. Now, let's talk about all the projects he's got lined up. He's got Superman Legacy, which is now just called Superman, which makes me happy because as much as I liked the title Superman Legacy, I think just being Superman is very clean. It's going to be excellent. Very excited. I have nothing but positive thoughts on that film. The Supergirl woman. Goodness. This is what happens when I make a podcast longer than an hour. I start losing my ability to speak. The Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie, I'm also very excited for. I honestly was this close to buying that comic it's based off of. And I was like, I went to a bookstore. I had 2 books in my hand. I have Blood at the Garden, which is a book about the New York Knicks, Pat Riley, all that. From the 90s Knicks, Patrick Ewing, Pat Riley, all that. Very interested in that. So I bought that. I've been eyeing that book for years. Just had to buy it. Then they had a book I'd never seen, and it was a Star Wars book that was the Lando Calrissian Adventures. It's the 3 Lando Calrissian books from the 80s into a collection, like one book. And so I have to buy that. So I was going to buy Hyperion and the Supergirl comic that I think the new movie is going to take a lot from. I mean, they literally even stated it's going to take a lot from it. Like, they used the image in, like, the release for it. They clearly are pulling from it. Who wrote it? Oh, my gosh. It's not Tom King. It's not... Maybe it is Tom King. Let me check. I just want to credit the writer here. Yeah, it was Tom King. Okay, it was Tom King. I have Mr. Miracle by Tom King. I haven't read Supergirl. I haven't read it yet, and I need to read his Supergirl run that they're going to pull a lot from. His Supergirl book, I guess I should say. Anyways, I was going to buy it, and then I didn't. I'm going to read it eventually. I'm sure of it. But I wanted that Lando Calrissian book. I've never seen that before, and I was like, that looks really cool. So I had to buy it. Then we get The Brave and the Bold, the new Batman film. I wonder if it's going to be retitled to Batman the Brave and the Bold. I think it's kind of odd that it's just The Brave and the Bold, but whatever. Swamp Thing. I bought Swamp Thing comics. Well, I got it for Christmas last year. Been reading it. It's excellent. I think that new movie is going to be awesome. And then The Authority. Bought an Authority comic. I read a couple issues. I need to go back and read the whole book. It's just volume 1. I do think it's going to be interesting how James Gunn plays this. I honestly think it could be like DC's The Boys. A little bit. Like, it's kind of what it reminds me of. Really does. So very, very interested to see what he does here. So basically what I'm saying is I'm James Gunn. I really go for this 80s DC vibe, but The Authority doesn't fit in there. Very excited for the Lantern show. I think the Paradise Lost show is the one I'm least excited for. It's like a fantasy series, and it's going to be Wonder Woman. I really like the character of Wonder Woman. I don't know why we're doing the Paradise Lost thing, but maybe it'll be really good. Who knows? Lanterns is supposed to be like True Detective of Green Lantern, which if that's true, it's going to be like my favorite TV show of all time. So hopefully that's good. And then obviously I'm excited for Booster Gold because I like that character. And then Waller is going to be good, because Viola Davis is like perfect for her. But anyways, I've already talked before how I like this slate. But my thing with it, what I would do if I'm James Gunn, is if I'm building the world like that, I honestly think we're going to get a DC universe that's already pretty relatively set up. I think Superman's going to be new to a world that's already pretty created. And I think it's going to be a really interesting way to tell it. And I think it's kind of it's going to have a very different feel. Because what was the MCU got big while all these characters were being introduced, right? And then it got even bigger when it was like, now we have all these characters, and look, they're going to intermix. And that was like Civil War and onward all the way to Endgame, right? DC is going to start at the Civil War phase, I think. I think they're going to start, not at the point where they're not going to fight each other, but I'm saying there's going to be a lot of heroes already in the world. And I think it's a really interesting way to start. We haven't seen that. The DCEU kind of did that in a really bad way. So I have a lot of faith in DCU, but basically what I'm trying to say is that I need the blue suit. I need the Teen Titans movie to be incredible, and I love that I think he's making it like the 80s DC. And I think we are in for incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. I cannot wait for the DC stuff. I don't have as much to say as I do about my friends over at Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics is in the news recently for casting Robert Downey Jr. as I'm recording this, my buddy Dalton, I know you probably listened to this episode. If you made it this far, Dalton, thank you. He sent me a meme, and it's the picture of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, and it says, every released WWE star at some random indie show 90 days after their release. That's really funny. That's a good meme, Dalton. Jinder Mahal just did that bit. Anyways, Robert Downey Jr. is cast as Dr. Doom. Do I think it was a good idea to shift away from Kang? Yes. As soon as they announced the Kang thing, I was excited because, like, okay, this is the next thing we're doing. The multiverse saga. Here we go. But, Kang isn't exactly the most interesting villain. And that's the thing with Marvel, is I think Marvel has some great villains. But DC's got better ones. It's just true. And you think about the best Marvel villains, most of them are X-Men villains. I'm just being serious. Like, they're mostly X-Men villains. I'm going to Google best Marvel villains, see what Google says. The greatest Marvel villains and enemies ever. Okay, yeah, Doctor Doom is like the top, obviously. So here we go. This list is saying Doctor Doom, Thanos, Venom. I don't know if Venom even counts at this point. Galactus, Magneto, Loki, Ultron, Apocalypse, Carnage, Okay, this list is inaccurate. They had Dormammu 10th. Holy shit. Oh my goodness. All right, let's go to a different site. Here we go. This is from Comic Vine. The other one was just rankers. People are just voting. Here we go. Oh, this guy just made this himself. Well, let's see if he's got a good opinion. Number 1, Doctor Doom. Then we got Magneto, Thanos, Green Goblin, Loki, Galactus, Red Skull, Apocalypse, Ultron, Mr. Sinister, Doc Ock, Kingpin. That's your top 12. That's a good list. Ronan at 13 is kind of wild. Mystique at 14, I'm fine with. Venom 15. Elektra, Thunderbolt Ross, Scarlet Witch, Super Skrull. Super Skrull at night. Okay, whatever. 20, Kang. 21, Dormammu. Am I missing? I don't read Doctor Strange comics. I don't. Maybe I'm missing something. I do not see the appeal. Mandarin 22, Baron Zemo 23, 24 Mephisto, 25 Onslaught. Shit, isn't he X-Men too? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Here is my point. I honestly agree with this list. Top 5 Marvel villains: Loki, Green Goblin, Thanos, Magneto, Doc Doom. That's fine, right? Galactus is 6th. That's like a good top 6, right? I would say those are your top Marvel villains. Let's look up best DC villains. Oh my gosh, did this guy make his own list for the... Oh, nope, it's a different guy. But it's the same website. Here we go. Joker. Okay, this guy's just a Batman guy. Which... It was very Batman heavy. I was like, I don't think this is gonna... I mean, I guess we'll go back to it. We have... If Lex Luthor isn't in the top 10, though, we're clicking off. Yeah, okay, it's just Batman villains because Lex Luthor's 18. Calculator is above him. From Birds of Prey. Okay, this guy's off his rocker. Damn. Wow. All right, let's look at this one. Let's see what this is. This one's fine because the top 3 are correct. We have Joker, Darkseid, and Lex Luthor. Deathstroke, Bane, Scarecrow, Two-Face, Brainiac, Riddler, Sinestro, Poison Ivy, Doomsday, Mr. Freeze, Ra's al Ghul, General Zod, Professor Zoom. Professor Zoom. I have never heard him referred to as Professor Zoom. Catwoman, Black Adam, Zoom. Oh, they're different characters. I don't always keep up with Flash. Deadshot, Black Manta, Red Hood, Penguin, Killer Croc, Gorilla Grodd, Solomon Grundy. Oh, I love Solomon Grundy. Captain Cold, Lobo, Clayface, King Shark. Oh my gosh. Vandal Savage. Atrocitus. Oh my gosh. Trigon. Yes. Tiago. Bizarro. Black Mask. Court of Owls. Ares. Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange is great. Yeah. Metallo. Parasite. Captain Boomerang. Amanda Waller's here? Okay. Ocean Master. Not Ocean Master. The Batman Who Laughs. Oh yeah. It's a Phantasm. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Here's my point. Penguin is 23rd on this list. 23rd on the Marvel list is Baron Zemo. You ask the general public. They know who Penguin is. Who the hell is Baron Zemo? Like, I know he was a bad guy in Civil War, but, like, come on. All right, let's just go. Even if we just go to, like, Sinestro. I'm purposely not picking the Batman villains because I know Batman villains are like a lot of the big popular DC villains because he's Batman. But I'm saying Sinestro's 10, right? 10 on Marvel. Oh my gosh, I accidentally closed the tab. 10 on Marvel is Mr. Sin. Okay, wait, hold up. Okay, Mr. Sinister is way cooler than Sinestro. Point blank. But I will admit, if you asked 100 people, who do you know? 3 of them will say Sinestro, and 2 of them will say Mr. Sinister. So there's that. My point is, when it comes to Marvel, they're going to have villains for every film. They're going to have villains for these big sagas. And I really think they're going to have to heavily pivot to X-Men heavy stories in the future, because as far as guys who can be saga villains, the top dogs, it's like, okay, they made Loki a very popular character, right? So Loki's already shot. Okay. Galactus. I think there's an argument Galactus could be the main villain of a saga, but I honestly don't think he's compelling enough to be... I know. There's probably somebody out there who's like, I love Galactus. I'm not the biggest... I like Galactus. I think he works very well for one type of story, which is Galactus is coming. Oh, shit. That's how he works. There's nothing else beyond that. He works for one movie. He's not going to work for a saga. What are the post-credits scene going to be? Him just getting closer? I mean, I guess the argument would be it's like Silver Surfer shows up. He warns us in a post-credits scene, or you see a planet being devoured by Galactus, and you're like, oh no. Okay, yes, he's like an impending threat. I don't think that works for a saga, because in the whole saga, it's like waiting for it to rain. You ever been outside and it's like it's getting cloudy, and you're like, oh, wind's picking up, and then it goes away, and then it sprinkles for a little bit, and you're like, oh, it looks like that's all it was, and then thunder, and then it starts like pouring rain, right? That would be the Galactus saga, where it's just like, oh, is it? Oh, it's not gonna rain. Oh, wait, sprinkle. Nope, not gonna rain. Oh, is it gonna rain? Oh, look, it's clearing out. Oh, maybe then boom, it starts raining. That's the Galactus saga. Doom, I think, is like the top dog of Marvel villains. I think Thanos kind of is pop culture wise now because of how good the Infinity Saga was. But overall, Doom is the guy. He is the Marvel villain. The guy. I think after this, they're going to have to heavily pivot to X-Men, because X-Men, if you said, saga-worthy villains, let's pull that list up back from Marvel. Okay, let's do that real quick. We'll do for both DC and Marvel. We'll pull up both those lists again. Saga-worthy villains, right? Doom, saga-worthy villain. Thanos, saga-worthy villain. Green Goblin could be. The argument is you have him show up as Green Goblin, then he becomes Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn could be a saga-worthy villain if you do a saga that's like a Dark Avengers type thing. That would be the point. But the MCU can't do him because I don't think they're going to have Tom Holland have his own Norman Osborn. I really don't. Magneto is a saga-worthy villain. He is. So that's okay. After that, Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister. I would say both are. So 3 of the guys I named are X-Men villains. Out of the non-X-Men villains, it's like I don't think Galactus is a saga-worthy villain. I think Ultron could have been, but they already shot that. It's already done. Kingpin is awesome. Not a saga-worthy villain. He's not. You look at your big Marvel villains, there's not a lot that are the... I think somebody could say, like, well, Annihilus. They could do Annihilus. Don't get me wrong. But nobody's going to be like, holy shit, it's Annihilus. Like, 10 guys who read comic books are going to be like that. Everybody else can be like, who the hell is Bucky? Yeah, I mean, now I'm in, like, the 50s, and I'm getting, like, Maximus. We ain't used to knowing humans villains. I can tell you that right now. No way this guy ranked Absorbing Man above Vulture. What are you doing? I guess Absorbing Man's kind of cool, but pile driver. Whereas if we go to DC, right? Saga-worthy villains, Darkseid's obviously the obvious one. But like Lex Luthor could be like a Norman Osborn situation, right? Black Adam could be if they hadn't already met. I don't think they're going to redo Black Adam. My goodness. But really, the big thing, Vandal Savage is like the obvious choice, I think. Vandal Savage would work really well. I think the big thing that works for DC is I think DC, overall, in general, has better villains than Marvel. They just do. I don't think you're going to argue with me on that. I will say, I think Marvel does a good job having cosmic-level villains. Guys that can run a saga. Most of them left, though, are X-Men adjacent. Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, and Magneto, or even Onslaught, are X-Men adjacent. Other than Doctor Doom, there's not a lot left. Because Galactus is going to be a one-movie villain. They've already used Loki. They already used Ultron. Ain't nobody tuning in for the Annihilus saga. It's not going to happen. Like, it's not. Now... I do think that's the thing of DC is, other than Darkseid, DC doesn't really have a lot of, like, I'm the big villain of this story. Because a lot of your big DC events are, like, a lot of the villains are teaming up. That's the way a lot of those go. Like, the Lex Luthor, gets a group of people together. You get the Injustice League. That's the way a lot of DC things go with the team-ups, is that the villains team up, which is fun, and I enjoy that. I would be shocked if James Gunn's like, yes, this is all building to a Justice League film with the Anti-Monitor. I would actually be like, what? Granted, though, he might do that because that would be in line with his 80s DC world he's building. But I think that's what's interesting with the Marvel Universe is that they kind of had their hands tied because they tried to make it Kang. But I'm going to be honest. Kang is a character I have never really liked that much. He's got a fun design, very weird, very different. But he just kind of introduces a bunch of bullshit because all the time traveling and the multiverse and it just introduces a lot of crap. And it seems to me that the MCU is starting to recognize the multiverse saga has just been the cameos. And that's, I will admit, I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet. I am very excited for it because I'm pretty sure Wesley Snipes is going to be in it as Blade. That's what I can't wait for. I also think that the cameo I want to see is Ben Affleck as Daredevil. If we don't get that, I'm disappointed. That's the one I want. That because I'm trying to pick what would be the craziest cameo in my mind, and that is it. The craziest one within reason. I mean, like the craziest one would be like Lou Ferrigno rolls up as the Hulk, but I don't even know if Lou Ferrigno is still alive. Hopefully he is. I mean, that would be like the craziest one I can think of. Lou Ferrigno, are you alive, buddy? Yay! That's good. But yeah, I mean, within reason, that would be the cameo I'd like to see is Ben Affleck as Daredevil. I haven't seen it yet. Probably see it within the next week, 2 weeks. So, very excited to see Deadpool and Wolverine. I got to go see that, Twisters, and Trap. But tonight, Genevieve said Twisters, so that's what we're doing. But the thing is with Marvel and where they're at is they had to pivot because obviously Jonathan Majors, you're not going to work with him anymore. And the Kang character just wasn't working. I'm not interested. I don't think the general public's interested. No one cares. Now, it wasn't like people were like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for Thanos. But at least he felt interesting. He showed up in Guardians of the Galaxy and people were like, oh, who's that? That's interesting. Kang, people were like, what the hell? I mean, maybe Loki, he's good. I need to watch Loki. I have heard that I should watch that. But I think overall, after this multiverse saga, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, we got 3 points we got to hit. Number 1, Robert Downey Jr. returning. I really think, here's what it is. Kevin Feige calls. He's like, Robert, we're in a bind. You know what's going on as far as the villain. We need to retool. We want to do Doctor Doom, but we need to get, more eyes on the product. This is you were the guy for the MCU. You started it. Ever since you died, it hasn't been the same. You died. Not you died. Goodness. Tony Stark died, and you left the franchise. It hasn't been the same. I remember when you were having, you had a drug problem. Everybody was worried about you, and now look at you. Now look where you are. I was a part of that. And he goes, you're right. And I think between the probably $150 million paycheck he's going to get, that's not an exaggeration. It probably will be in that range between his initial pay plus the percent of the box office he gets. And the whole "we helped make you who you are today" speech. I think Robert Downey Jr. felt like he owed it to them. He obviously enjoyed doing these films, and he's like, "Yep, I can do it." Between the money and the heartstrings, he agreed. I think he'll do very well as Doctor Doom. I'm willing to bet it's going to be some variant of Tony Stark. I would be shocked if it wasn't. I still think it's going to be named Victor Von Doom, but it's going to have something to do. They're not just going to be like, oh, he just happens to look like Tony Stark. There's no way they, especially with the multiverse and all the variants, it's probably going to be a variant, which is just like, to me, that feels cheap, right? Where it's, oh, well, it's Tony Stark, but he's evil in that universe. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. But if they can write it in a way where it truly feels like the Doctor Doom of the comics, it could be amazing. I'm not going to lie. If they can write it like Doctor Doom from the comics, this could get people back on board the MCU. What I'm concerned about the MCU is, let's run through the next couple films, right? We got the new Captain America. That movie is either going to be like, damn, Marvel's back. Deadpool and Wolverine was fun. This is good. Or it's going to be like, wow, why did they make this? Who cares? It's going to be one of those two. Hopefully it's good. I'm not sure yet. It seems like it's returning to the Winter Soldier vibe, and I really enjoyed that movie. One of my favorite movies in the MCU. We will see. We got Thunderbolts, which is either going to be, wow, fun surprise, or why did we make this? Who knows on that, right? Those are the two movies that I'm like, Fantastic Four, for all intents and purposes, I think is going to be really good. I think Pedro Pascal is the MCU's opportunity to have their new Iron Man. I think, honestly, Pedro Pascal has been on a great run as of late between The Mandalorian and The Last of Us and being in The Unbearable Made of Massive Talent. He has been building his career up for this moment. And I honestly think if he kills it as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, that Fantastic Four movie could strike, and it's releasing a week after or 2 weeks after Superman. People could be like, wow, Marvel is so back. I liked Captain America 4. And now this Fantastic Four team has pulled me back into the MCU. I'm a big fan again. I honestly think that's their big chance to have their new Iron Man in Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four. I really do. I think that's their big opportunity, which would then lead us into Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday. For a moment, I almost said Doom Dynasty, but they changed it to Doomsday instead of Doom Dynasty, which I actually like the name Doomsday better, but I just think it's funny. Going into that, I think Mr. Fantastic will probably be one of the main characters because Secret Wars, if Doom's the villain, Reed's going to be one of the main characters. He is. I mean, it's no playing around. But here's my concern. I'm a little worried because of the way the multiverse saga has gone that it is going to be just the cameo fest. And what I mean by that is like Secret Wars, it's going to be like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and what would be a crazy poll here? Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider as the main characters of Secret Wars. And those are the ones we're following. I'm kind of concerned that's what we're going to get. Like, I don't have a lot of faith in them in, like, basically because, so Doomsday comes out in 26, and then I think it's, like, May of 27, Secret Wars comes out, right? I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to be like, yeah, Reed Richards, this Fantastic Four movie is really good, right? And Michael Giacchino's doing the music. The guy who did the music for The Batman, he did the music for The Incredibles. I think he did Ratatouille also. Michael Giacchino's just incredible. Willing to bet the music's going to be great. Which works because Incredibles is basically a Fantastic Four movie. So, part of the reason it's great. Anyways, I honestly think that I'm a little worried it's going to be some shit like that, which is like that movie where it's like Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider and Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom all got to fight Dr. Doom, who's Robert Downey Jr., but then they get saved by Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and Pedro Pascal, Mr. Fantastic. That sounds like some Reddit bullshit somebody put out there. Like, no offense to the people on Reddit, but that's what that sounds like. That doesn't sound like an actual movie. That just sounds like some shit I would talk about. Like, I don't even know. That's like something I would think of when I was like, I don't even think I think about like that when I was 12 because I didn't know many. I wasn't that into actors. Like, I didn't know that many. I don't even know. That is like what that is, though. It's just like some dude who's like, what if this? And then they brought in this character I like from this movie and this character I like from this movie, and they all have to defeat Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. That's like literally what I'm a little concerned they're going to be. And if it's that, I still think it'll make $1 billion. And that's what's sad, right? But I think the reception will be this saga was clearly messy and not as good as the Infinity Saga. I don't think there's any possible way the Multiverse Saga ends up being as good as the Infinity Saga, even if all the upcoming movies are really good. There's already been too much schlock. Now, it does seem that they're killing off the TV shows. Doesn't seem like they have many TV shows left. Quit making the Marvel TV shows. No one cares. DC, I'm a little worried about you making TV shows too, but I got faith that you're going to do it right. I got faith. But Marvel, cut the TV shows. If you're going to do TV, just make it animated. It's what you do. Marvel. That's how you keep it. But it seems like they're trying to fix up the MCU. And they just had a massive hit on their hands. Deadpool and Wolverine's probably going to cross $1 billion this weekend. Going to be the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. I don't think it's a crazy statement to make. It's probably going to do that. Big hit for them. They're going to try to salvage this multiverse saga in these last couple films, make them good. Please make me Blade and make it good. Please make Blade. I have faith they're going to make it R-rated now because Deadpool and Wolverine made a lot of money and it's R-rated. So I have faith that... Oh, Deadpool is going to be in Secret Wars heavily now. I also had to think about that because this movie made so much money. I just want to toss it out there. But with Marvel, I think they're going to try to salvage the multiverse saga. And this is what I'm worried about. When Secret Wars hits, they're probably going to reset the universe. Oh, probably Tom Cruise will show up as Iron Man in that movie, just because why not, right? They're probably going to reset the universe. I think the getting Robert Downey Jr. move looks a little desperate, not going to lie. And I think it's going to be confusing to explain to my grandparents what's happening. And that's why I'm willing to bet he's going to be some form of variant of Tony Stark. But I do think he could do really well in the role. Like, I have full faith in Robert Downey Jr. in the role. I love Robert Downey Jr. But I think we're going to look back and be like, wow, the multiverse saga was kind of diminishing returns. And I think right now everybody at Marvel is like, how do we keep this going after this? What is our next thing? And they are so lucky that they managed to build the MCU without Marvel's best property, which is the X-Men. Because as much as I love Spider-Man, he's my favorite superhero. The X-Men is Marvel's best property. Because if Marvel said right now, tomorrow they come out, they say, hey, by the way, we are cutting our comics division in half. There's the X-Men half, which will now be branded as X Comics. That sounds like porn. They wouldn't call it that. Whatever. They would call it Uncanny Comics. That's their new brand. They are separating from us. We have new ownership, and the writers are all going over there. And then Marvel Comics will continue to sell, but the X-Men are written out. They're no longer in the universe. The Uncanny Comics would be as popular. Like, I'm not lying, because those characters in the X-Men universe is so in-depth. It's like its own separate universe inside of the Marvel universe. You think Batman's got a lot to it? X-Men's like that times 10. And the Batman universe is like its own little universe within DC. It's part of the reason it's so fun. Spider-Man is like the only Marvel character I can think who also has his own little pocket of the universe in Marvel. I think there's an argument the Fantastic Four kind of do. I will admit that's an argument. But overall, everybody else isn't that vast. Guardians of the Galaxy's movies kind of were, but in the comics they weren't. I mean, the comics basically just had to follow the movies after that. And so they're so lucky that they have the X-Men and that they could genuinely, for the next saga, they could reset the universe and be like, hey, we know Shang-Chi's pretty good, at least the first 2/3 of the movie, and then the last act is not good. Once they get to the other dimension, I did not like it. Seemingly, we're sorry. After Secret Wars, you're done. We're not making, Shang-Chi 2 will probably come out before Secret Wars, and then after that, you're done. And he's like, why? And they're like, well, we're going to reset the universe. We're just going to do X-Men and Spider-Man. And I'm not lying. That'd probably be an incredible saga. If they just did the X-Men saga as the third saga, and it was nothing but X-Men related films and X-Men related characters and Spider-Man movies, I think it would be better than the Multiverse Saga. And that's not because I think the Multiverse Saga is shit. This is in a world where all the rest of the MCU stuff, they fix up the Multiverse Saga. They make it at least respectable, right? I honestly think they could do it. Now, here's the thing. I don't want them to do that. I want them to continue. It would be amazing if they could make good X-Men movies alongside keeping the rest of the stuff going with Sam Wilson's Captain America and Shang-Chi and please not another Eternals film. It would be really cool if they could keep that. And Fantastic Four, right? And Spider-Man. That would be so cool if the next saga can keep that. But I'm getting scared because I think there's a world which Secret Wars happens, universe is reset. And now, let me think. Glenn Powell is now Iron Man. You know what I mean? And you got all these new X-Men characters. So you're starting the X-Men saga, but guess what? Not only do you get all these new characters, but you remember you liked Black Widow, didn't you? Right? You liked the Black Widow movie? You liked that character all those years ago? Well, guess what? Black Widow's back. It's not Scarlett Johansson. It's not Scarlett Johansson anymore. But Black Widow's back. It's Madeline Klein. It's like now the dude from Challengers is now Loki. Mike Faced, is that his name? I think it is. He was in Bike Riders too. He's great. Really like him. He's Loki now. That's what I'm worried about. Is that the MCU is a little too good to be true, because in comics they never really get to die. You always got to reset it back to the status quo. And I'm a little scared that Secret Wars is the perfect little opportunity to reset the MCU. And now you reset it, and you introduce the X-Men, and so you get a saga that's X-Men based, but guess what? Now you have a new Iron Man. You have a new Hulk. You have a new Thor. A new Captain America. That's what I'm concerned about. That is, and I don't want that. I think there's a lot of Marvel characters that they could still make the MCU interesting with. And I think the X-Men is the answer. If they don't do the X-Men, I will admit you're kind of running low, right? But I think Pedro Pascal has a chance to be their new Iron Man. He does. The Fantastic Four can be huge for them. And after Secret Wars, you make the universe reset, but you don't start recasting everybody. I wouldn't do that. You keep, Endgame still happened and all that. That stuff doesn't go away. But now the X-Men are there. Because it's hard to just be like, hey, the X-Men exists now. We just didn't realize. That's not going to work. So you have to reset the universe to introduce the X-Men. After Secret Wars, you're going to, make it so the universe is new. And in this new universe, because they reset the universe, there's weird energy, which now causes mutants. That's my bet. Now, what's going to be really interesting is what they do with Magneto, because is he going to be civil rights related now? Because he used to be, he was always German. It was World War II. It's always how it was. Well, now, if that was the case, he'd be like 100 years old. So you're going to make it so he ages slower? I think that's probably the best idea. There has never been a black Magneto civil rights movement related Magneto. And I'm not aware of it. I don't think that exists. I don't know if people want to see that. Maybe they do. I think that's an interesting concept. I actually do. I think I would go for that. But I don't know if people are going to be like, well, that's disrespectful. Because I could see the argument that maybe it is, right? To both Magneto traditionally being Jewish, and maybe people are like that kind of. I don't like that we flip. You know what I mean? I don't know if people would go for that. So I'm willing to bet they're just going to say he ages slower because it's kind of in his character that he is in a concentration camp. So, but I do think it's an interesting idea that they could do, Black Magneto, make it like Denzel or, like Denzel, right? And that would be interesting. I'm not going to lie, but who knows if they'll do it. Paul Mescal is now Captain America. Yeah, right. There you go. Actually, Paul Mescal would be a better Iron Man, and Glenn Powell would be a better Captain America, for being honest. Maybe is Glenn too smug for Captain America? I don't know. But I'm a little worried they're going to reset the universe, and because at some point they're going to, right? Like, at some point with the MCU, whether it's after Secret Wars or in 2040, they will reset it, and you will get a new Iron Man. And Robert Downey Jr. will play Howard Stark. Clip this right here in 2040 when it happens, because it'll happen. It will. We are 16 years away from Iron Man. We are 16 years away from 2040. So it was really weird that I said that. But I'm being serious. It'll happen. They'll do that eventually. I just don't think you need to do that now. I think you reset it. You don't need to recast Iron Man. Go heavy on the X-Men. Heavy on the X-Men. And you can, if you write the X-Men right and you do it right, you can get 3 sagas out of that. Not playing around. You could do a Mr. Sinister, an Apocalypse saga, and if you build up a Avengers team, you could do an Avengers vs. X-Men saga. You could. But who knows what they're going to do. Clearly, the Multiverse saga is not as well planned out as the Infinity Saga. And so if I was them, I would be planning out what we're doing right now. I'm just getting concerned with the idea that they're like, oh, well, the nostalgia plays work really well. Maybe we should just reset and recast our original characters and add in the X-Men alongside it. It's like a whole new MCU. That's how they're going to compete with DC. You know? It's like, hey, Pedro Pascal's popular as Mr. Fantastic. That's great. We got to cast a new Wolverine, and guess what? Iron Man's back because we got a new actor cast as him. That's what I'm scared of. That's what I'm scared of. And I really hope they don't do that. I think I rambled about that a long time, but at some point they will reset. I just don't want that to be in 3 years. I would like for them to wait and do an X-Men thing and build off the Fantastic Four and see where things take you. You know? There's still a lot of Marvel characters out there that are untouched. That could be big. They could. You know, we never thought Guardians of the Galaxy would end up being one of the best things about the MCU. But it was. That's the thing with those characters. I love Marvel. You know, there's been times they've been my favorite. There's been times where DC's been my favorite. I will say my favorite thing about Marvel, though, is Spider-Man and the X-Men. The only reason I'm really into the Guardians of the Galaxy and I really like Iron Man is because of the movies. They made those characters. I've read probably 15 issues of Iron Man comics in my life. I've read like 5 issues of Guardians of the Galaxy comics. They're not that interesting to me. But in film, I absolutely love those characters. So the idea that they need Iron Man back to make the MCU big, if they wanted to reset it, to me is just invalid. You can make these characters... Black Panther was awesome. I mean, obviously it's a shame, you know, Chadwick Boseman died, and they chose not to recast the role out of respect, which I understand. I think he would have been, you know, one of those carrying the flag for the MCU. But, I mean, Doctor Strange is a really popular character now because of the MCU, because of Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as him. And I think they can continue to do that. I don't think just because someone's called Thor, magically the public's going to love him. I think it was the way Hemsworth played him and the writing of the character. People fell in love with the character. And they can do that again with new characters. And we could get a Nova movie, and everybody loves Nova now. And now Nova's a top popular character. There is no point to just keep going back. You have such a wealth of characters. You could do new things. I mean, with the X-Men, right? You could do a whole X-Men saga and then introduce the X-Force. Have Cable now. That'd be awesome. There's so many things you could do with the X-Men. So many things. And who knows? Like maybe the movie comes out and the guy who, you know, plays Nightcrawler is just absolutely awesome. And now Nightcrawler is like one of the most popular X-Men. That could happen. I mean, you could, if they get Cyclops right, he could be one of the most popular X-Men. I mean, he's kind of on his way up right now. So, and Wolverine became big from the X-Men comics, and the movies made him, you know, stratospheric. And I do think in these new X-Men movies, Wolverine should be more of a bit player. I don't think he should be a main focus. He can have his own movies, but he should not be a main focus. I think they could make Cyclops one of the big guys in the MCU. I think Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic could be one of the next big guys in the MCU. I think it's not just the name of the character. A lot of it's the writing and the delivery of it, and people will latch on to it. So I guess that's my soapbox. This is really like an hour and a half plus soapbox, but I just want them to keep trying new things. I don't think just because someone's named Tony Stark, now all of a sudden people will like the character. I don't. A lot of it's tied up in Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Same thing with Chris Evans as Captain America. So, yeah. All right. Well, that was episode 100. Come a long way from... I'm in college now. I started this. I was in high school and used to record this up right outside my bedroom and my computer set up out there. Now I'm in the basement. I got a Beverly Hills Cop poster I look at, my Terminator poster. I'm excited to do my weekly episodes again once we get to the fall. Very excited. Hopefully you enjoyed episode 100. This really was just... had a lot of ideas I wanted to get off my chest, and I probably talked myself in circles some of it. I think someone would argue probably not my best work, not very concise. I'm kind of all over the place, but this is what I wanted to do for episode 100. I just wanted to deliver something that was kind of from the heart and just kind of me speaking my ideas on different things, and so I did that, and I enjoyed doing that. So next episode, maybe my thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe we'll talk more Marvel. SummerSlam's going to be tomorrow night, so maybe something wild will happen there, like Solo Sikoa wins, and I'll have to flip out and be upset. But we'll see. But if not, probably about 1 or 2 more episodes before we're back on weekly for NFL. I love doing that. That's like my favorite part is when we do the weekly for the NFL. That's great. And then we go right into March. It kind of works out really well. We go weekly for NFL. I get a little bit of a break period, and then we're right into March Madness. Boom, 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 boom. So, okay. We'll do the Tarantino ranking eventually. I'm happy with this being 100. All right. At some point, I got to re-rank the MCU. I really should do that. Maybe I'll do that after the multiverse saga ends. So in 3 years, come back. All right. Got a new skit in the works. It's going to be on my other YouTube channel, so if you're interested in that, make sure you check that out. It'll probably be out in like 2 weeks. If you're not interested in that, that's no worries. If you listened this far, thank you, because I should just say thank you, G, because I'm willing to bet you're like the only one who will do that. So if your name isn't G and you did listen to this all the way through, my goodness, props to you, because you don't have to. Whereas Genevieve, I'm going to ask her later what she thought of it, so she feels like she's obligated to listen to the whole thing. I'm not going to ask you, so thank you. All right. Oh, I've been playing a lot of college football 25. If you wanted to know, head coach for Arizona State. We just won our first playoff game in my 5th year, so they're looking up. They're looking up. All right. See you all on the next one. That was episode 100. So whether you listen to me for all 100 or just 1 minute of one episode, I appreciate it. Thank you.